Hi, I'm Carlin Borisenko. In early 2020, I was the knitting Democrat who accidentally went viral on the internet for going to a Trump rally and then left the party. I became the conservative darling, was on all the shows, traveled around the country, and then realized that conservatives were no better than Democrats. If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that both political tribes are two sides of the same coin. But it wasn't all bad. On my journey, I became obsessed with understanding the woke ideology and the culture war. I broke the story of the city of Seattle doing segregated training with its employees.
How bad has this stuff become? The city of Seattle has now put out, I'm not kidding you, this is according to Dr. Carolyn Borisenko, who's an organizational psychologist. The city of Seattle asked its white employees to voluntarily spend a day off in a training about their internalized racial superiority.
I broke the story that led to the first ever federal lawsuit against critical race theory in the schools. I broke the Coke Be Less White story, one of the biggest anti-woke stories of all time. It got over 30 million views. Coca-Cola's corporate headquarters even had to change their outgoing voicemail.
Throughout the past few days, you may have seen inaccurate reporting on the content of our recently launched diversity, equity, and inclusion training program.
I exposed the schools in Burlington, Vermont for grooming middle school children live on the internet. They called me an unwoke cult leader for that. And the Vermont Human Rights Commission slandered me publicly as being a hate channel. I even got called a hero in Breitbart for exposing that the Washington Post was writing a hit piece on Christopher Rufo. I have broken story after story after story about what's going on in the public schools, from Cambridge, Massachusetts, to autistic sex education, to the Department of Education in Michigan, literally training teachers all over the state how to groom children. I wrote a book called Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. I host a podcast all about fighting back, and I'm downloading all of my knowledge to you on my Substack, carlin.substack.com. The world is a crazy place. We are literally surrounded by cults on all sides. On this show, we're going to do a deep dive into all aspects of the culture war, and I will show you the dark, dystopian underbellies on both sides. Here are the commitments I'll make to you. I will always tell you the truth. I will always bring you receipts. And if you stick with me, I promise you will see the world differently. Welcome to the cult. Please mount that like button for me and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Well, hey, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. Welcome to the second official episode of my show, The Cult, which is really just, we're not doing a whole lot differently, maybe just professionalizing things a little bit. And I do also have this fancy schmancy Substack that I have just launched. And, this is going to be kind of the home base for the show moving forward, because I want to be able to, A, have a backup for YouTube just in case, but B, I want a place where I can put show notes and that sort of stuff and actually send you guys out information so that you can see what I'm going to be covering today and all that good stuff. Now, you see, this is a new thing that I've started, and I hope I'll be able to keep it up, and I hope I'll be able to send stuff out beforehand. But we have this here show notes that went out actually a couple hours ago, that if you go ahead and sign up on thecult.substack.com, you're going to be able to get a sneak preview of all of the topics that we're going to talk about today. You're going to have links to all of the places that I stream on. I stream on YouTube. I stream on Odyssey. I stream on Rockfin. I stream on Rumble. I stream on Gitter. I stream many other places as well, but those are the main ones. And so you can find links if you want to watch on a different platform. Please always make sure you are subscribed to me on at least one other place that is not YouTube, because, you just never know what's going to happen. And if I get a strike on the channel, I can't communicate with you on YouTube. I can't even make a post or anything. So you want to make sure you have another location that you can keep in touch if you want to. If you don't want to, that's okay too. Well, we do have a whole bunch of topics that we are going to talk about today. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to look at this crazy article in the New Yorker. Crazy article in the New Yorker, because I mean, and I actually read there has actually been a rash of these articles lately. I wrote a post for my main Substack last night, which is Carlyn, Karlyn .substack.com, and I'll put it in the chat there. There actually have been a whole bunch of these articles lately from major media outlets. The New York Times, the New Yorker, CNN, the Washington Post. We're talking about all within the last couple of weeks, basically doing a full on. And so last night I posted this article where I basically gave you a Cliff's Note version of each of these articles that have shown up lately so that you can understand the talking points that they're using. If we don't understand the talking points that the woke left is using, we aren't in a position to fight back against it. So I would encourage everyone to read it and check it out. But we are actually going to read one of the articles today, because this article is beyond insanity, just beyond. And I really want to show you. This is in the New Yorker. Can we all just wrap our heads around that for a moment? And they are essentially saying that parents have no rights over their child at all. The Dragon Samurai, I subbed to your Substack today. Happy birthday. Oh, thank you, Dragon Samurai. I do appreciate that. Yes, it is indeed my birthday. Thank you, Kino Reviews. It is indeed my 29th birthday. Again, obviously. You know, they say you only turn 29 once. No, apparently you turn 29 at least 14 times, and I'm going to go for a 15th next year. But it is absolutely my birthday, and we'll talk about that in a second. I will give you guys, if you guys want to give me a birthday present, I do have an idea of what that birthday present might be. We can talk about that in a second. But before we get into that, I want to tell you what the other things we're covering on the show today. NPR has rage quit Twitter. They threw a little bit of a hissy fit over the fact that Elon Musk labeled them as state-affiliated media. It was glorious. And as someone who, I spent about a year and a half working at an NPR affiliate station, I got to tell you, the amount of joy that I felt watching as Elon Musk put that state affiliated media label on NPR, it was beautiful. And watching them rage quit Twitter is even better. I love it. And so we'll read that story and we'll discuss, and we'll look at Elon Musk's reaction. Speaking of Elon Musk, NPR is not the only affiliate that Elon Musk is pissing off at the moment. He's also pissing off the BBC. Now, it looks like, hang on one sec. Am I streaming on Rumble? I think I'm streaming on Rumble. I should be streaming on Rumble. It does look like it. Guys, if you are expecting to watch me on Rumble right now and it is not working for some reason, I apologize. My indicator keeps going back and forth between it's working and it's not working. So it looks like it is working. I apologize for that. Anyway, last night, if you haven't heard, and I quite frankly don't know how you haven't heard yet, Elon Musk did a Twitter space with the BBC. I was listening to it live. It was phenomenal on so many different levels. And we are going to watch a clip from my favorite part of it because, you know, this is something, let's just say it didn't go the way that the BBC was intending that it would go. It just didn't quite work out for them. But it worked out for all of us. I don't know. Was anyone else in that Twitter space last night? Because apparently like 3 million people tuned into that Twitter space. I was there the whole time. It was just the chef's kiss of beautiful. Benjamin says, Rumble, the chipper Paw Patrol of streaming services. Oh God, Benjamin, truer words have never been spoken. Nick was in the Twitter space last night. Oh man. It was beautiful. It really was. So we're going to look at that, and we're going to watch a clip from the Twitter space that is going around, and Elon Musk just retweeted it earlier today. So this guy's going to be getting a lot of attention, but it really was, I mean, just glorious. And we need to share that with everyone. So that's what we have on cue for today, guys. For the cult is my name for my new show. If you just showed up, that is short for The Culture War. Because on The Cult, I do deep dives into aspects of the culture war, really looking at both sides. I think that both sides are crazy. And so I pull no punches. I have no allies. I tell you what I think. I tell you the truth. And hopefully you guys appreciate it enough to support the work I'm doing. And the very best way you can support the work I'm doing And if you want to give me the best birthday present that you can possibly give me, the very best thing you can do is become a paid subscriber on my main Substack, which is carlin.substack.com. That is the main Substack that I have. I have, of course, you guys know, 18 different Substacks, at least, maybe even more. But this one is actually my main one. Now, the reason I have different Substacks is I want to give you guys, I have a lot of different interests and I have a lot of different things that I want to publish content on, but I do want to give you guys the ability to control which content you see. And so this is my main one. This is where I publish all of my Unwoke content about what's going on in the schools, what's going on in media, what's going on in culture, that sort of thing. And I do post a weekly newsletter to Actively Unwoke, showing you just all the stuff that I've covered in the last week that you might have missed. The weekly newsletter is going to look like this. It's going to look like the Unwoke. It's called the Unwoke Roundup. It goes out on Sundays. So I do send those out on Sundays. And if you become a paid supporter on my Substack, these emails are really important because not only do these emails have a list of all of the content that I've created for you over the last week, just in case you missed something. I know I create a lot of stuff. You want to look at it all in one place. That's great. But the other thing that these emails have in it are your supporter perks. So when you become a supporter of my work on Substack, on Locals, on Patreon, the choice is up to you, but I'm really recommending Substack right now because it's the one I'm most focused on building out. But you'll get the same perks across each platform. It's just your preference about which one you want. But when you become a supporter on Substack, what happens is at the bottom of these weekly emails, you will find links to your supporter perks, including the 2 Zoom calls that we do every single week on Monday and Wednesday. We just had one earlier today. Those are private. Those are unrecorded. They are fantastic. So you can still access it, Sam. You can still access it. If you're a supporter, you can access it the moment you subscribe. It also is going to include your link to the supporter Discord, which is where we do movie night on Sunday nights. This Sunday, we're watching a great movie. We're watching Wet Hot American Summer. It is so funny. You guys are going to love it. So that's something you can come and join us for. There are frequently other perks that you can take advantage of as well. And that will come out of the weekly email that I send out on Sunday. If you are on Substack, if you're on Locals or Patreon, you can find your perks there on the respective platform that you support on. But guys, I would really love it if you would become a paid subscriber on my Substack. $5 a month, $50 a year. There are options to give more if you would like to give more, which of course I appreciate. But if you can't, the base amount is just fine. And that keeps me in business. I work for you guys 10 to 15 hours a day. A day. I had a troll on Twitter yesterday that was like, I said that something like I was still going to be in bed sleeping at 10:30 a.m. Well, that's true. I usually am still in bed at 10:30 a.m., but that's because I get up and I start working at noon and I work until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And that's the work that I do for you guys. That is what is required to make sure I'm reading what I need to read, watching what I need to watch, understanding what I need to understand, producing all of the content that I produce for you. I work 100% for you. And my only goal is to tell you the truth and to show you receipts. And then you can decide for yourself what you think. But when you're paying $5 a month, $50 a year for a subscription on my Substack, that is what you are supporting because I cannot do this without you. So if you want to give me the best birthday present you can, that would be amazing. I would love to see a whole bunch of subscriptions come in today. That would make me so happy. And I really would appreciate it. Another thing you can do is check out my Unwoke Art Substack. So unwokeart.substack.com is where I'm doing my new art project, which is I'm using AI to create art that does commentary on the culture and the times that we are living in. And so there's a couple things you need to know about the Substack. Number one, you can do things like check out the merch for one of my, and I do have merchandise associated with some of these designs, though not all of them. That's not what I wanted to do. Hang on. So, for example, I do with some of my designs, like this one, which is the Cheshire Cat Be Different design. There's a whole bunch of merch that you can buy associated with this. So, if you really like this design, it is my most popular design at the moment. You can get it on t shirts, you can get it on hoodies, you can get it on mugs. That mug is like the most popular thing in the store. You can get it on water bottles, stickers, posters you can put on your wall, journals, etc., etc. I have a whole merchandise store now at unwokeart.com that you can buy some of my art and the cultural commentary that I'm doing, and you can see those designs and get updated when I post new designs at unwokeart.substack.com. Another thing that we're doing right now is I do actually have an AI art contest where members of the community on the Substack are submitting their own AI designs that do commentary on different cultural aspects in the world at the moment. And so you can check out this post, and I would really encourage everyone to make sure that just give it a try. There are like 11,000 different AI art tools now. It's a really wonderful way to get the creative juices flowing. I firmly believe that creativity is the antidote to the woke ideology. When you are creating things, when you are giving things to the world, when you are coming up with ideas and then making those ideas into something tangible that other people can see and experience, that is an act of creativity. Creativity is something that the woke left does not have. They are destroyers. And the reason they are destroyers is because they don't feel like they have anything valuable to give the world. So if you're putting stuff out there, if you're creating things, if you're making things, you are not as likely to get sucked into the woke ideology. And so that's why I'm doing this contest. I want people to be creating stuff and using the tools that we have available. And we're getting some great entries. Like, truly, that's a land blessing from Jan. Like, what a great idea. I never would have thought of that. Or this one, the hive mind. I love that one. Bot made this one of a woke businessman using woke and LGBTQ culture to make money. How cool is that? This is one of Bot's best works right here. This is representing cancel culture. I mean, come on. So much cool stuff. That's representing a struggle session. Another that's a really powerful one of like a child being in the middle of a struggle session. You think that stuff's not happening in schools every day? I mean, there's just so many cool AR designs. This is another funny one. That represents the patriarchy. I mean, come on. People are having such interesting ideas. When you enter the AI art contest, you're going to be able to see the other things that people are putting out there, and hopefully those will inspire you. But have fun. You can win prizes. You can win gift cards to the Unwoke Art store. But I would really encourage everyone to give it a try. Here's the thing. There are, of course, people that poo-poo on AI art, particularly when I'm doing something crazy like saying that, maybe you can sell AI art. Maybe you can make a cool product that people like and actually make a business selling AI art. There are some artists that, well, I wouldn't even call them artists, to be honest. There are some artists, quasi, that make a big deal like AI art isn't art. How dare you? And they get all pissy about it. But I'll tell you what, man, there has been like art has always evolved over the centuries. And every single time a new piece of technology comes out, like people who are quote unquote real artists are going to poo poo and shit on it. What do you think happened when cameras were invented? Cameras and photography wasn't considered real art. And then, oh, God forbid, what happened when all of us got a camera in our phone and we could all be photographers and all create images that are just as nice as people with the big fancy $1,000 cameras. Oh, camera photography isn't real art, and then etc., etc., etc. Here's what I think about the people who are shitting on AI art. They're not artists. They're people who are trying to sell their shitty art that isn't very good, that can't find a customer base because it doesn't have any soul to it. What do I mean by that? If you are just creating art to make money and to be able to sell it as whatever it is, a stock photo, like an illustration, all of these things, if the only reason that you are creating art is to make money, then you are missing the entire point. The purpose of art, no matter what kind of art it is, art can literally be anything. It can be anything under the sun. The purpose of art is to provoke human emotion. And AI currently is a tool that we can use that will provoke human emotion. And you can come up with ideas and create things at a really low cost. You can create them at scale, and then you can put them out in the world to get people to look at things differently. For me, that is what quality art does. And I don't care if it's a painting or a drawing or someone has created a digital image or digital illustration or someone does it with AI. If a design stops me in my tracks and I have to look at it and kind of process what it's saying to me, that to me is art. And so, for all the people that are shitting on AI art, the advice I would give is stop focusing on money and actually come up with some good ideas. And when you come up with good ideas, that is when people will pay you money. So, if you wanna pick up some merch in the Unwoke Art store, that of course does go to support the work I'm doing, and I greatly appreciate it. One more announcement before we get started. I have at 8 p.m. tonight, in a couple short hours from now, we are going to be doing a free webinar in honor of my birthday called Embrace Your Inner Narcissist. Now, it might sound crazy to do a webinar on my birthday about embracing narcissism, but really, what other day could I do it? Of course, I have to be my most narcissist on my birthday. But here's the thing, guys. There are actually a lot of good aspects of narcissism that will help you be more successful in the world. This is going to be a little bit of a lighthearted, tongue-in-cheek webinar that it's going to be fun. We're going to play around a little bit, but it is going to give serious advice about how you can be more successful in the world. And there are absolutely traits of from narcissism that will help you to do that. Let me see. I see James saying, "Can we get some love on the Rumble feed?" Um okay, so the Rumble feed, it looks like it's not working, and I do apologize for that. Hang on, let me just post a note because I keep getting, oh gosh. One sec. So I apologize for this. I don't know what's going on. I loaded it, I reloaded it. So if you're trying to watch on Rumble, I really do apologize. I tried. I'm getting an error message. I don't know what's going on with Rumble. There is quite literally no reason the feed on Rumble shouldn't be working. So I apologize. Maybe I can try one more time. Hang on. Let me try removing this and maybe starting again. Am I going on Rumble now? Try again. Reload. No, it doesn't look like it's working. I have no idea what's going on with Rumble, so I apologize if you're trying to watch on Rumble. I don't know. There's no explanation for why it's not working. But I will try to troubleshoot that for tomorrow, and who the heck knows. But I am also streaming on YouTube, Odyssey, Rockfin. If you don't want to come on YouTube, Odyssey and Rockfin and Getter are all options for you. But back to this. So we are going to be doing the free event at 8 p.m. tonight. And there is the registration. It is free to sign up. If you want to come and learn about the positive elements of narcissism and how you can integrate them into your life, I will be happy to teach you that, and we're going to have a good old time. James says, "No worries. Thanks. Don't delay your topic. Just appreciate the non-YouTube option." Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Rumble today. I apologize to everyone. There is see, I actually have the blue check or the check mark that says it's working on Rumble right now, so I really don't know what's happening. Oh, it's working. It's working. Rumble is working, James. Rumble is working. Rumble is working. It is working now. Just reload. I apologize for that. Trendolin purchased a Socialism Saturday shirt. So what Trendolin is talking about is if you go into my Unwoke art store, you can actually buy the official Socialism Saturday Join the Cult t-shirt. Thank you for that, Trendolin. That's exciting. There's the link there if people want that directly. All right, guys, let's jump into it, shall we? Now, the first article we are going to be talking about is from New York Magazine. And if you have kids in school, I need you to pay attention to what is being said. So last night on Actively Unwoke, I posted this article, which is basically a Cliff's Note version of 4 different articles that have come out in the last few weeks from major media publications talking about why we should just do away with parental rights. Essentially, like parents are really dangerous for kids. Really, like parents really screw up kids' lives. And I don't know what the big deal about parental rights is. Can't we just get rid of those annoying things? I swear to God, there's been a rash of these articles lately. And let me tell you what, if we lose the battle over parental rights, that is the ball game, folks. That's it. And if you think this is theoretical, there is a bill in California right now that would allow a school psychologist to take your child away from you and put them in a group home just because the school psychologist decides that they want to do that. This is not a theoretical thing. This is something that they are trying to pass in legislators right now. So let's just play this out now. And I think we can acknowledge there are some situations in which it might be beneficial for mental health professionals to be able to take kids out of their home without the parents understand, like it being informed or approving of it. If the kid is being physically abused, then okay, we can acknowledge that there are scenarios in which that should probably be considered, right? However, here's what's going to happen. Johnny Jones comes home from school. Johnny Jones says, "I'm not Johnny, I'm Jane." Parent goes, "Nope, you're Johnny." Kid goes, "No, I'm Jane and I want to start medically transitioning." Parent goes, "Nope, that's not going to happen and we're going to call you Johnny." And then the kid goes to school and the kid goes to the school psychologist's office and goes, "My parents are denying my lived experience and I am Jane and I am a girl and they aren't letting me transition and aren't they horrible parents?" And then the school psychologist goes, "Yes, Johnny," or Jane rather, because the school psychologist would totally go along with this because the school psychologist has to be affirming over everything. And they would go, "Yes, Jane, you are correct. Your parents are horrible, awful people. And we need to remove you from the home so that you are not put in danger by these people." That is exactly what's going to happen. I promise you. That is exactly what's going to happen with this bill in California. Quick break to acknowledge some super chats. Julie says, "Happy birthday. My gift to you is I signed up for the webinar tomorrow." Thank you, Julie. I am doing a webinar tomorrow called Love Your Leadership Style. We're going to have a great time. You're going to be getting a disc profile very soon, Julie. And I really do appreciate that. We're going to have a great webinar tomorrow. You can find out more about that on the Substack, actually. Just go to the Unwoke Your Work series right at the top. Kino says, "Is it too late for me to submit to the AI art contest?" No, not at all. We're doing it through the end of the month, so you got plenty of time. And then I have a nice big super chat from Murphy's Pool with a butt. Thank you, Murphy's Pool, for the nice ass. I appreciate that. Murphy's Pool says, "Just poured a glass of Buffalo Trace bourbon, not Peroni, in honor of Carlin, our cult leader. I ask all to raise your glass and of whatever you are drinking and wish Carlin a happy 29th birthday." Salute. Thank you, Murphy's Pool. I do very much appreciate that. All right. So there are real issues surrounding this attack on parental rights, and it's not just theoretical at all in any way. But the craziest article that I read last night when I was doing that Cliff's Note version by far is this one. This article is absolutely nuts. It appeared in New York Magazine, I think just the other day on April 8th, 2023. And it's called "Children Are Not Property: The Idea That Underlies the Right-Wing Campaign for Parental Rights." Now, let me be really clear about this. And people who watch Socialism Saturday, which is the Saturday stream at 6 p.m., we're not doing it this week. That's a different thing. But like usually we do them on Saturdays at 6 p.m. I just have something else to do this week. So when we watch Socialism Saturday, we have repeatedly watched a topic called "Abolish the Family," where there are real socialists who absolutely believe that we should be abolishing the biological family. And what they repeatedly say is that children are not private property. Why are they framing it that way? Because socialists do not believe in private property. Socialists believe all private property should be abolished. Your business, your car, your house, you will own nothing, and you will be happy. And one of the things that they want to abolish is the biological family because they say that children are exploited when their parents perceive them to be their property. So it is not insignificant that we are seeing in the headline of this article, children are not property. What that means is that Sarah Jones, who wrote this article, is a socialist. Or she might not be a socialist, but she is absolutely advancing ideas that are coming from the socialist left right now. And if you don't believe me, I've watched it on Socialism Saturday many, many, many times, including lectures at major Ivy League universities. So this is not theoretical. This is happening in real life right now. Let's read this here article. Hang on, let me make it a little bit bigger so you guys can actually see it. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it, the book of Proverbs says. To certain right wing Christians, the concept is simple. A child can be broken or stamped into shape, much like a domesticated animal. Though all parents hope they'll pass their values on to their children, for some, the hope is more of a mandate. My own parents believed the Proverbs is the word of God, and they believed too that a righteous upbringing would produce an adult in their image. Who can blame them? The idea that a child should replicate her parents does not only belong to conservative Christianity or to religion at all. A proverb is common wisdom, and lately, one is hard to escape. Authoritarian gospel to modern conservatives. Nowhere is that clearer than in the assault on children. How the left is framing this discussion of parental rights is they are saying that it is an assault on children. Wrap your head around that. The parental rights movement is not a new one, but it is enjoying a resurgence. Adherents say they're protecting children from harm, broadly defined. After an art teacher at a Florida charter school showed a student a picture of Michelangelo's David, parental complaints forced out the principal. That was stupid. These are these battles that conservatives choose to fight that will only backfire on them. You're telling me you're going to throw a hissy fit over your kid seeing a statue of Michelangelo and force the principal out of the job? That will be used against you, conservatives. Cut that shit out. Members of Moms for Liberty call for book bans across the country. Books with LGBT content are at special risk of removal. That is another thing that for a full year, just in case anyone is new to me, I believe that the book banning bullshit should stop. I believe it was one of the worst tactics that Moms for Liberty could have possibly engaged in. I think that Moms for Liberty is one of the organizations that has single-handedly done more harm to the anti-woke movement because of the book banning bullshit than pretty much any other organization in the space. I have called it out time and time and time and time and time again. If for no other reason, then it doesn't work. It doesn't accomplish anything. You get one book out of that library, they're going to replace it with 3 more. And then you get those 3 books out, they're going to replace them with more. There is a never-ending conveyor belt of these books coming out, and you will spend all your time chasing your tail, while at the same time making these books more appealing to your kids, because all of a sudden your kids are like, why are my parents trying to ban this book? What's in the book? And then they're going to go find another way to read it anyway. And they probably never would have read it had you not thrown such a big hissy fit about it in the first place. So anyway, I've ranted about the book banning bullshit time and time and time again. But again, these are the tactics that that conservatives use that get them in trouble every single effing time. The architects of the state bans on gender-affirming care for minors say falsely that children are at risk from predatory physicians and activists. A gender cult destroys families, claimed conservative commentator Matt Walsh. The child they held as a baby and raised and gave their lives to and loved and still love suddenly becomes unrecognizable. I would rather be dead than to have that happen to my kids, which is also a boneheaded thing for Matt Walsh to say, by the way. The real sin is that trans youth will suffer, but the parental rights grip might loosen. Conservative interest in the child extends beyond a traditional hostility to LGBT people. This is basically going over some of the events of the day. I'm going to skip over some of this because I want to get to the really crazy stuff. It's possible to draw a line between remarks that were made and the push for child labor and the right's attack on trans children. In each case, conservatives betray a conviction that a child is the property of the parents. This is how you know this person is a socialist. If a person is against a child being the private property of their parents, that's a pretty good indication this person is reading a lot of socialism, because these are ideas that are explicitly spelled out in socialist material. Because parents own their children, they can dispose of the child as they see fit. Well, no one actually said that. Naruto says NPR rage quit Twitter being rightfully labeled. Yep, we'll be talking about that in a second, Naruto. I appreciate the super chat. They can deny the evidence-based medical care. They can put a child to work. They can make sure a child is sheltered from the dangers of a serious education. When a child goes hungry, that's because the parent isn't caring for their property. And what a person does with their property is their right. Well, there are actually many laws to protect kids from things that their parents might do to them, like for real. But again, they're trying to say that parental rights are dangerous for children. That's why they're framing the discussion like this. Like any piece of property, a child has to value like any piece of property, a child has value to conservative activists. They are key to the future the conservatives want to win. Parental rights are merely one path to the total capture of state power and the imposition of an authoritarian hierarchy on all of us. So it's no surprise that children have long been a fixation to the right wing. This is actually funny. Check this out. The late Christian Reconstructionist R.J. Rushdoony was a prominent advocate of Christian homeschooling in the 1960s through the 1980s. To Rushdoony, all education was religious. As Dr. Clint Heacock observed in a 2021 piece for Public Eye magazine, this is possibly my favorite sentence in this entire article. So-called government schools are churches in their own right, Rushdoony believed, indoctrinating students into the religion of secular humanism. He thought parents ought to be solely responsible for care and education of their children instead of relinquishing them to the anti-Christian controlled state. They're trying to make this guy look crazy. I agree with him. I agree with him wholeheartedly. Not the Christian stuff. I'm not a Christian. But do I think that government schools are churches in their own right? You're goddamn right I do. Absolutely. So they're trying to make this guy look crazy, but they actually made him look based. I'm sorry. The fear of state influence and belief in total parental control isn't limited to Rushdoony. At Salon, the journalist Catherine Joyce reported that Michael Farris, a Trump ally, who is the former president of the Alliance Defending Freedom and the founder of the Homeschool League Defense Association, launched a parental rights nonprofit in the late aughts that sought to amend the Constitution to read, "The liberty of parents to direct the upbringing, education, and care of their children is a fundamental right." Maybe there should be a resurgence in that. I got interviewed by the FBI after January 6th. I'm already on a fucking list. I got fucking audited this year. I got audited, by the way, and it's resolved now so I can talk about it, and they didn't fucking win. I got audited for the entire year leading up to January 6th and the entire year after it. You think I'm not on some list? And do you know what the auditor told me when I first talked to them? The very first thing out of this woman's mouth was, "We chose you at random." And I was like, sure you did. I am sure that's true. Absolutely. But I beat their asses. It took a metric ton of work. I had to go through 800 pages of bank statements. Fuck you, FBI. Or not. Well, yo, fuck the FBI too. Fuck you, IRS. That one as well. That one as well. Anyway. So yeah, I'm already on a list. But like, and all you are associated with me, so congratulations. They sent the fucking IRS after me. Anyway, taken to extremes, the concept of parental rights can be dangerous and even deadly for children. Proponents like Ferris and Rushdoony before him ignore the basic fact that home is often no refuge, but a place of domination and abuse. The National Children's Alliance says over 600,000 children were documented victims of abuse and neglect. Again, they're saying that parental rights are dangerous for children. This is the argument that they're going to make. Naruto says we're all on a list. Yes, every single one of you are on a list. Congratulations. You all have FBI files. Let's just start getting used to this idea. And then they talk about how parents are so bad for children. State laws passed by conservative Republicans have made LGBTQ children in particular more vulnerable to abuse at home by practically requiring schools to out them to their parents. The denial of gender-affirming care is another act of violence. I'm going to read that again. The denial of gender-affirming care is another act of violence. Far-right activists invent tales of wanton surgeries on minors and irreversible hormonal treatments. Invent? Jazz Jennings had this on national television. How can you say this is invented? There is a whole reality series in which a 17-year-old had bottom surgery on national effing television. This is not theoretical. In doing so, they obscure high suicide rates among LGBT youth who need gender-affirming care as a matter of life and death. Children who work may be exposed to adult dangers like workplace injury or sexual harassment. In the home and at school, children must fear gun violence in the name of the Second Amendment. Adults who encourage the proliferation of guns do so knowing well that children will die. If you own a gun, you are very literally killing children. In their hierarchy, the adult right to a gun is worth more than the child's right to live. Reduced to the level of a collectible or beloved pet, the child is not a person to the right. Only the unborn are spared the right's cruelty. While they're actually, and this is the problem with the pro-life movement, is it really does look like you guys just care about people before they're born. It really does. Only the unborn are spared the right's cruelty. Conservatives claim personhood for the fetus, but cannot destroy and requires nothing but a womb. The fetus is more valuable than the child because the fetus is a means to an end, the subjugation of women. Once born, a child's value deprecates. The parental rights to train their child takes precedence over the child's basic rights. There are ways to circumvent a child's established right to an education, like conservatives know. Homeschooling laws are so lax in the U.S. that thousands of children have essentially disappeared into an academic void. If a child goes to public school, chronic underfunding deprives many children, especially in poor areas, of a sound education. In much of the country, trans youth aren't treated like people with medical needs, but political targets. There is ownership, and the U.S. rarely interferes. There is one exception to the right's belief in absolute parental rule: trans-affirming parents. A defiant parent is a threat to the right. They've stepped out of place and must be subdued. This is another argument that they're making. This is another argument, which says that if you want to enforce parental rights, then some parents want their kids to be trans. Radical moderate, I understand what you're saying here, but the problem is perception. That is the problem that I'm talking about. Because ain't no pro-choice person going to investigate students for life. And by the way, a lot of those charities don't actually give out that much money. So they don't have the impact that you guys think they do. But what I'm talking about is perception. And that's something that the conservative right cannot wrap their heads around at all, is that perception is reality. Oh, yeah? How much money do they give them? Because I've looked into some of those places and it ain't that much. We're talking about a couple $1,000s. And a couple $1,000s is nothing to sneeze about. If someone wanted to give me a couple $1,000s, I'd certainly take it. But you're going to tell me that's going to be enough to raise a child? They aren't doing what you guys think they're doing. It's a good, it's like everything conservatives do. It is a good image. It is a presentation. There's no there behind it. There's no there at all. Show me their financials and then I'll take it far more seriously than I do right now. Anyway, moving on. In this perspective, rights aren't innate. They're determined instead by a person's place in the conservative hierarchy. The opposite view that everyone has rights by virtue of their humanity requires us to change the way we commonly think of children. Liberals aren't immune to the belief that children are property. The mainstream fear-mongering over trans youth tell us as much. Yet, combating the power of the parental rights movement requires an answering conviction in the rights of children. We can see them as people, uniquely vulnerable, yes, but nevertheless people who are independent minds and will develop private lives of their own. So I'm going to say this. Show me evidence for people who are pissed off about the pro-life stuff, where I'm blatantly calling out pro-life people on looking like idiots. Show me the evidence that conservatives spend more money helping to take care of unwanted kids after they're born than they do in getting rid of abortion. I want the evidence. If you're honestly telling me that conservatives don't just care about kids when they're in the womb before they're born, and that they care about them just as much afterwards, show me the evidence that conservatives spend more money taking care of unwanted children who are born because of their help than they do on preventing abortion. If no one can show me that evidence, then you know what the answer is and I know what the answer is. They care about the issue. They don't actually care about the children. They never have. It is only about control. That's it. It's about religion and control. Anyway. There is no way to control a child forever. My parents learned that much. And by the way, if there are still conservatives fighting this pro-life battle and you're not paying attention to how they're arguing parental rights, then you guys are going to lose. And you're going to lose your kids that have already been born. If like you got Roe v. Wade overturned, okay? It completely fucked your electoral chances for the entire rest of your lives, but you got what you wanted. You got the great Roe v. Wade overturned. If you are now continuing to fight against people having abortions in states where it is legal to have an abortion, and you are not turning all of those resources towards fighting this issue to gain control over parental rights, the left is going to take all your children from you. And you will deserve it because you did nothing to stop it, because you continued to cry and scream about abortion, paying more attention to the kids that are not born than to the ones living in your house. I promise you this is going to happen. I promise you. They are laying the complete groundwork. They are laying the complete groundwork to take all of your parental rights away, starting when your kids right now are as young as 12 in California. If you're not focusing on that and you're still bitching and complaining about abortion, you are going to lose. And you're not only going to lose politically, you are going to lose your children. We know what they're doing. They're telling us in this article. If this is not a wake-up call, then I don't know what is. I don't know what is. Well, the children are the ones that are going to suffer the most because they're going to be taken away from their families because the parents did nothing to prevent it. Do you see how that works? Let's see. There is no way to control a child forever. My parents learned as much. I hid books from them and discovered different ways of thinking through literature and furtive online searching. In relatively short order, I became an atheist and a socialist. She admitted. Oh, I missed this last night. Told ya. I told you this was a socialist. When you watch Socialism Saturday, you know the language that socialists use. You can identify the socialists without them even saying they're socialists. A fate so dire that the former trustee of my evangelical college told me he hoped my parents died before they knew the truth. They did not share his sentiment. If my example means nothing, it's this. Children are not dogs to train, but adults in formation. They will learn someday soon that the future belongs to them. What they do with that knowledge matters to everyone. Children aren't private property, but a public responsibility. I'm going to say that line again. Children are not private property, but a public responsibility. That is how these people think. To expand our democratic project to children is to grant them the security the right seeks to deny them. Education, healthcare, shelter, food. A better America begins with the child. Where did they go wrong? Where did the author's parents go wrong? Probably shoving religion down their throats would be my guess. Probably trying to force them into ideals that they didn't hold. Probably like they probably had a rebellious stage where they were like, F you, mom and dad, and went to read Marx for the first time. And then they became a socialist because their parents probably tried to control them and repressed them. And human spirit will always fight against people trying to control it and repress it. So if you don't want your kids to rebel against you and turn them into socialists, don't force your views on them. It's honestly really easy most of the time. So what do you guys think of this article? What have we learned from this? They are coming after your parental rights. They are going to say parental rights are dangerous to children. They are going to use the argument that people who want their kids to be trans have parental rights too. They are going to turn every single argument that you're using about parental rights around on you. They're trying to take your children based on laws that they're trying to pass, not based on crying and screaming on Twitter. This is real. And I promise you, if you do not want these people to win, listening to this person is like one of like the dumbest things you can do. I understand your angst. It's not just the right that has a problem now. The left maintains an attitude it's fine to destroy over 600,000 fetuses a year and then promote our declining population. Bro, person who I've never seen on this channel before, you think the left is bemoaning a declining population? The left wants the population to decline. The left is not bemoaning any population decline. They want it to decline. They don't care. They think it's a good thing. We know this. We watch them talk about it. They don't care. Time to find your priorities, guys. If you aren't finding your priorities, I don't know what to tell you. And if you are not doing anything, if you personally are not doing anything, no. Ears open, mouth shut. If you personally are not doing anything, then do not be surprised when the state takes your children when you do not allow them to medically transition. And it will be your own fucking fault. It will be entirely 100% your fault if the state and the schools take your parental rights away because they were telling you what they want to do. They were laying it out in, quite frankly, every major media outlet, the New York Magazine, New York Times, Washington Post, CNN. They have all had these presentations lately, these articles. There was a conference at the University of Connecticut a couple weeks ago of the brightest legal minds in the country, and the topic of the day-long conference was, are parental rights always in the best interest of the children? They are telling you what they are planning to do. They are laying it out specifically. And I am beating this dead horse because conservatives tend not to listen. And so you have to beat the dead horse. If you are watching this stream right now, you have no excuse. You have no excuse at all to not understand what they are going to try to do, because they are telling you overtly in every major media publication. So if you lose your kids, it's your own damn fault. If the state takes your kids away and transes them without your permission, it's your own damn fucking fault. Because you were presented with what they were going to do. You ignored the information. You continued to whine and complain about abortion and to focus on things that don't matter, like Dylan Mulvaney being on a beer can. You turned your back on the things that were actually important to engage in nonsense. There are consequences to inaction, guys. There are consequences when you focus on things that don't matter. Dylan Mulvaney having a Nike contract does not matter. It does not impact your life at all. In no way. You know what matters? This. This is what matters. How you spend your time and your energy is your responsibility. It is no one else's. Stop listening to your influencers who are telling you that Dylan Mulvaney is the most important thing in the world. I don't know what else to say. I really don't. If you don't get it now, and I think most of my viewers do get it, but if you don't get it right now, then you will never get it. Rewind the stream, watch from the beginning, repeat it until you finally understand. But for right now, we're going to move on to happier things. Please mount that like button if you're pleased that NPR rage quit Twitter. Is there anything better than NPR? This was quite literally the first thing that I saw when I woke up this morning, because I was awake. I went to bed at like 4 a.m. But like when I woke up around 10 a.m., this was the very first thing that I saw on my birthday. NPR quits Twitter after being falsely labeled as state-affiliated media. NPR will no longer post fresh content to its 52 official Twitter feeds, becoming the first major news organization to go silent on the social media platform. All of our hearts just collectively broke, didn't they? In explaining its decision, NPR cited Twitter's decision to first label the network state-affiliated media, the same term it uses for propaganda outlets in Russia, China, and other autocratic countries. The decision by Twitter last week took the public radio network off guard. Okay, so they're not state-affiliated media. If they're not state-affiliated media, then what's that word doing there? You are either public which means publicly funded, or private, which means privately funded. You are funded by the public. You are funded by taxes. Inherently, that means you get your money from the state. When queried by NPR tech reporter Bobby Allen, Twitter owner Elon Musk asked how NPR functioned. Musk allowed that he might have gotten it wrong. Twitter then revised its label on NPR's account to government-funded media. Oh! Do you receive funding from the government or don't you? The news organization says that is inaccurate and misleading, given that NPR is a private nonprofit company with editorial independence that gets their funding from the government. Just because you get donations from other people does not mean that you don't get your main funding from the government. It receives less than 1% of its $300 million annual budget from federally funded Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Well, as someone who worked for an NPR affiliate for like a year and a half, this is just an opinion. I personally question the veracity of that statement. By going silent on Twitter, NPR's chief executive says the network is protecting its credibility and ability to produce journalism without a shadow of negativity. Yes, there's certainly no negativity directed at NPR. The downside, whatever the downside, that doesn't change the fact, NPR CEO John Lansing said in an interview, "I would never have our content go anywhere that would risk our credibility." Oh, really? In a BBC interview posted online on Wednesday, Musk suggested he may further change the label to publicly funded. His words did not sway NPR decision makers, probably because they'd already written the press release. They need to be viewed as stunning and brave and get their virtue points. Even if Twitter were to drop the designation altogether, Lansing said the network would not immediately return to the platform. It's kind of like when someone is like desperate to get back into a relationship, but they're pissed off that you broke up with them in the first place. Here's what's going on. Twitter and Elon Musk have broken up. And not Twitter and Elon Musk. Ooh, wow, strike that. No, Twitter and NPR have broken up. There we go. Twitter and NPR have broken up. And it was a messy breakup. There was a big effing fight. Twitter said the most hateful possible thing they could to NPR. It really pissed NPR off. And now they've broken up. But NPR really loves Twitter. Twitter doesn't really care that much about NPR, but NPR really loves Twitter. And NPR really wants to get back into the relationship with Twitter, but they're so pissed off at what Twitter said because Twitter went for the ultimate low blow of calling them state-funded media that NPR is like, I wouldn't come back to you if you asked me. But really, they really want to come back. You know what I'm saying? But their pride is so hurt at what Twitter said about them that they're like, they desperately want, what they want is like, you need to apologize. And Twitter's like, I don't care that much. And NPR's like, over here. Yes, exactly, Tinge. NPR is being the fussy girlfriend of Twitter. That's exactly what's happening. At this point, I have lost my faith in the decision-making at Twitter, he said. I would need some time to understand whether Twitter can be trusted again. NPR's Allen emailed Musk on Wednesday morning asking for your reaction to the news organization quitting Twitter. Let's see what Elon Musk said. So here's Bobby Allen. What is your reaction to NPR quitting Twitter? And Elon Musk's reaction is defund NPR. Based King Musk. Based King Musk. You know, I have questions over the way Elon Musk handled the whole Substack situation. All right. He lost his temper. He had a little hissy fit of his own. But just because someone makes a mistake doesn't mean we ignore when they do the right thing, and Elon Musk has absolutely done the right thing in this. Defunding NPR was the perfect answer to NPR's query about, like, we broke up with you. How do you feel about it? And Elon Musk's like, I don't really care. Go away. But that wasn't the only thing Elon Musk said. Elon Musk also retweeted this article from the Babylon Bee, which the Babylon Bee says National Public Radio denies being national or public. And then Elon Musk tweeted, hang on, he just tweeted again randomly. NPR says federal funding is essential to public radio on their website. What hypocrites. They literally said it on their website. You can look it up in Google. Federal funding is essential to public radio service to the American public, and its continuation is critical for both stations and et cetera, et cetera. And Elon Musk says, well, I guess they won't mind losing their federal funding then. He's not wrong. He's not wrong at all. But that's not the only based thing that Elon Musk did this week. Elon Musk also totally savaged a BBC reporter. I was in the Twitter space last night. It was amazing. It was so funny. We are going to watch my favorite clip of it. But let me read you a little bit of this article. Please mount that like button for me if you have not already, guys. Twitter CEO blasted a BBC reporter during Tuesday's hastily arranged interview when the journalist failed to cite specific examples of hate speech flourishing on the social media platform. As they discussed looming layoffs and the painful journey Musk 51 has gone through following his Twitter acquisition, BBC reporter James Clayton decided to confront the Tesla founder about allegations that he does not have enough staff to police hate speech on Twitter. What hate speech are you talking about? Musk asks. I mean, I use Twitter. Do you see a rise in hate speech? Just a personal anecdote? I don't. When Clayton answered that he did not personally see more hate speech on Twitter, Musk challenged him to name just one example, but the reporter could not come up with one. Let's just, you know what? Let's just watch the clip. Let's just watch the clip. You guys can all, if you haven't seen it yet, you're about to see the best thing you're going to see all day. If you have already seen it, it's worth watching again. About 3 minutes long. Let's take a listen.
I've spoken to people who have been sacked. I would only just add that, you know, we have spoken to people who have been sacked that used to be in content moderation, and we've spoken to people very recently who were involved in moderation, and they just say there's not enough people to police this stuff, particularly around hate speech in the company. Is that
what hate speech are you talking about? I mean, you use Twitter,
right?
Do you see a rise in hate speech?
I mean,
just a personal anecdote. Like, what do you? I don't.
Personally, my for you, I would see I get more of that kind of content. Yeah, personally, but I'm not going to talk to the rest of for the rest of Twitter.
So you see more hate speech personally?
I would say I would see more hateful content in that.
Content you don't like or hateful? What do you mean to describe a hateful thing?
Yeah, I mean, you know, just content that will solicit a reaction, something that may include something that is slightly racist or slightly sexist, those kinds of things.
So you think if something is slightly sexist, it should be banned?
No,
is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying anything. I'm
just curious. I'm trying to understand what you mean by hateful content. And I'm asking for specific examples. And you just said that if something is slightly sexist, that's hateful content. Does that mean that it should be banned?
Well, you've asked me whether my feed, whether it's got less or more. I'd say it's got slightly more.
That's why I'm asking for examples. Can you name one example?
I honestly don't use.
You can't name a single example.
I'll tell you why, because I don't actually use that for you feed anymore, because I just don't particularly like it.
But you said
a lot of people are quite similar. I only look at
hang on a second. You said you've seen
following.
more hateful content, but you can't name a single example, not even one.
I'm not sure I've used that feed for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And
then how did you see that hateful content?
Because I've been using Twitter since you've taken it over for the last 6 months.
Okay, so then you must have at some point seen that for you hateful content. I'm asking for one example.
Right.
And you can't give a single one.
And I'm saying
I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
Yes, because you can't give me a single example of hateful.
That was, I just need to pause. We're going to relive that. That was my favorite moment of the entire Twitter space. I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about. Everyone needs to just, you need to just bottle that line and put it in your back pocket. Anytime you encounter someone like this, I say, sir, you don't know what you're talking about. Everyone practice. I say, sir, you don't know what you're talking about. With the appropriate amount of righteous indignation, let's relive it again.
Have at some point seen that for you hateful content. I'm asking for one example.
Right.
And you can't give a single one.
And I'm saying,
then I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
Yes, because you can't give me a single example of hateful
Never gets
content,
old.
not even
It's
one
so good.
tweet. And yet you claimed that the hateful content was high.
Well,
that's false.
No, what I claimed,
you just lied.
What I claimed was there are many organizations that say that that kind of information is on the rise. Now, whether it has on my feed or not, I mean, right, and
literally
you can look at something
one.
like the Strategic Dialogue Institute in the UK. They will say that. So
look, people will say all sorts of nonsense. I'm literally asking for a single example, and you can't name one.
Right, and as I already said, I don't use that feed. But
then how would you know that?
I don't think this is getting anywhere.
You literally said you experienced more hateful content, and then couldn't name a single example.
Right, and as I said,
that's absurd.
I haven't actually looked at that feed.
Then how would you know this hateful content?
Because I'm saying that's what I saw a few weeks ago. I can't give you an exact example. Let's move on. We only have a certain amount of time. COVID misinformation. You changed the COVID misinformation.
Has
rules.
BBC changed its COVID misinformation?
The BBC does not set the rules on Twitter, so I'm asking you.
No, I'm talking about the BBC's misinformation about COVID.
I'm literally asking you about, you changed the labels, the COVID misinformation labels. There used to be a policy, it then disappeared. Why do that?
Well, COVID is no longer an issue. Does the BBC hold itself at all responsible for misinformation regarding masking and side effects of vaccinations, and not reporting on that at all? And what about the fact that the BBC was put under pressure by the British government to change its editorial policy? Are you aware of that?
This is not an interview about the BBC.
Oh, so. You thought it wasn't?
And I see now why you've done Twitter Spaces. I am not a representative of the BBC's editorial policy. I want to make that clear. Let's talk about something else. You want to talk about the BBC? You too. All right, let's talk about something else.
You weren't expecting that.
Let's talk about something else.
Based king. Okay, listen, man. Here's the thing. Elon Musk is a human being. He's also autistic, which means he doesn't think necessarily the same way that we might all, think. Although I do actually have a lot of autists in my audience, so who knows? Maybe you guys do think the way Elon Musk thinks. Nick says, Musk politely telling him to go F himself. Listen, the reason I say that Elon Musk is a person is because real people have faults, and real people are not always going to make the right decision. And even when Elon Musk makes decisions that pisses people off, it's stuff like this. This is the reason that Elon Musk must be protected at all costs. And we must allow Elon Musk the latitude to make piss poor decisions and then learn from his piss poor decisions and retract them. And then he'll go on to pretend he never made the decision in the first place. Fine. But don't write the guy off because he makes bad decisions every now and again. Because when he does stuff like this, I'm sorry, it's worth it. And one of the things that I do actually respect about Elon Musk is even when he makes a hasty, brash decision, like disabling every link to Substack on his platform, that was stupid. But he got a lot of negative feedback, and he reversed course. And he's still pissy about Substack. He's still lying about Substack, but I don't even care because he reversed the decision. So no harm, no foul. Listen, the best that we can hope for from like normal people is that when they do something that's stupid, they reverse it. And then you look at the full breadth of all of the other good things that they've done. And that was amazing. That was a moment the world needed. That BBC journalist got exactly what he deserved in every possible way. F the BBC, man. F NPR, F the BBC. Elon Musk is my based king. Based king. He must be protected at all costs. When he does something wrong, we need to let him know. But other than that, you know what? Do your thing, Elon. Do your thing. All right, guys, that is all I have before our second inaugural episode of The Cult, my official new show that is basically, putting some zhuzhing up what I was already doing. Now, I do have this Substack for The Cult, which is thecult.substack.com. And you are not automatically subscribed to this if you are on one of my other Substacks. I create multiple Substacks so that you guys can subscribe specifically to the content that you want and then ignore the content that you don't want. But when you subscribe to this website, what you're going to get are updates with show notes, links to the shows on the different platform, what I'm going to be talking about, hopefully before the show, so you can decide whether or not you want to tune in. I will be archiving, in addition to putting the show notes and stuff, I'm also creating a video archive of the show where I will actually be physically archiving not physically, digitally, I suppose. But what I'm doing is I'm actually downloading this stream like from YouTube, and I will be making a full video archive of all of the shows. I'm also going to be doing an audio only podcast version of the show at some point. Not just yet, because I got other things to do, but that is actually in the works. That is all going to run through the Cult Substack. So if you want to take advantage of that, you can head over to thecult.substack.com and sign up for free. I will never charge for this particular thing. I will not be doing that. And so you can get the free content there. Bot asks, I'm assigned to ask if you got the shirt from the Cult. If you got the shirt from was I supposed to get a shirt? I haven't gotten a shirt yet. You may have just spilled the beans, Bot. I haven't gotten a shirt yet. I haven't gotten that t-shirt that I ordered from your store either yet. That's all right. But guys, if you do want to support the work I'm doing and give me the very best birthday present that you can give me for my 14th, 29th birthday, you can head over to my other Substack, my main Substack, the Substack where all the good stuff happens. You can head over to Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. And if you want to give me a birthday present, sign up for $5 a month or $50 a year as a paid supporter. You're going to get all sorts of special perks and you're going to be supporting the work I'm doing. I can't do it without you guys. I am completely 100% funded by you, and I appreciate that. And of course, if you feel so inclined, we are doing a webinar tonight in but a couple short hours called Embrace Your Inner Narcissist. This is completely free to sign up for. It is just for fun. It's a little sassy to do on my birthday, a webinar about being a narcissist, but I really do think there are things we can learn from narcissists that will actually make you into better, more confident human beings. And then you take the stuff like the smear campaigns and the lying and the hissy fits and the whining and all that stuff. You leave that. You take the good stuff and you learn from that, and then all of the bullshit that comes along with being a narcissist, you just set it over there. You just ignore it. We don't have to acknowledge it, but we can learn from the good things. And I have a whole webinar that I'm going to be doing about that at 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight. It is free to sign up for. And I look forward to seeing some of you guys there, and I will be recording it. So if you want to watch it after the fact or get a recording after the fact, that's available as well. Krissa is asking about my Unwoke art store, which is unwokeart.com. I wanted to order a water bottle from you, but I don't know if it would ship to Canada. I don't know, Krissa. I would have to check. Make sure you are on unwokeart.com. And check there, because I do have the other Teespring store as well that I'm slowly phasing out. You should be able to ship to Canada, but I don't know why it wouldn't be, but I can go in and check the features on that, and I appreciate you asking. All right, guys, that is all I have for today. Thank you for spending some time with me. I really do appreciate it. Mount that like button on the way out the door, and we'll see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. Take care, guys. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you soon.